Good afternoon. I'm Charlie Mae Westbrook from Craft Beer Online, and we're here with Luke Nicholas from Epic on this absolutely gorgeous sunny afternoon in Auckland. Luke, recently there's been a lot of debate and a lot of kind of media fuss around what is craft beer. A lot of people go, "Oh, I want to drink craft beer because it's natural, because it's clean, because it's better for you, and also because it tastes so much better." And then all the big companies are sort of pushing and going, "Oh, well, what we're doing is actually craft beer as well." So, as someone who's been in the industry for a while and one of the pioneers, what is your definition of craft beer?
Definition of craft beer. I guess I've made a few comments in the media and on the social medias about my thoughts on craft beer. The difference between craft and not craft, I guess it's sort of something that's happening now. It's craft is an easy descriptor for people that don't really understand beer and beer with different flavors. So craft kind of sums up, here's a whole bunch of small breweries making beer, so we'll call that craft beer. Sort of back in the 80s and 90s, it used to be called boutique beer. It sort of went through a microbrewery phase, and now it's craft beer. And it's just really a way of describing a group of brewers in a segment of the market. So there's beer, and then there's craft beer, and I guess the rest is sort of mainstream industrial beer. Probably another way that would probably describe craft beer better is because there's big breweries and small breweries, and some big breweries make great beer, and some little breweries make some not so great beer. So then you're capturing, like, if craft just means small, then there's a bunch of small breweries making not so great beer. And then there's some big breweries that will be considered as large and industrial, but they could be making great beer as well. So I know craft could mean the difference between brewers that make beer for the sake of beer to maximize flavor and aroma and make the tastiest beer possible with the best ingredients they can and the best processes, and it's just about the love of beer. And then on the other side, you've got a group of brewers that are going, hey, let's see how we can make this beer cheaper and get cheaper malt and cheaper hops, and how do we get rid of hops, and they're about maximizing the margin and getting the best return for their shareholders.
Don't care about the quality of the product.
It's not about the beer, it's about making money. So craft could mean craft brewers are those that are making beer for the flavor, and the other brewers are those that are making money for their investors. But I see it as craft is a term just for sort of this period of the world's brewing, and craft will be gone, because did they have the word craft 150, 200, 1,000 years ago? Were people having debates like we are now?
It was all craft because there wasn't any mass brewing.
It was just, it came down to making beer for the local drinkers, and everyone was happy about that. And it was, brewers brewed for making $1 and a living, just like any business has in the history of man. But I think the term craft will be gone in 5 to 10 years, because like now there's big brewers making some great beers that people would consider craft, and there's some small brewers, and there's going to be something different for everyone through the spectrum of cheap to expensive, or flavorless to flavorful, and there'll be prices mixed all amongst that. So you're not going to be able to go craft means this, because you're going to have this spectrum that's all messed up with, is it a big brewery, is it a small brewery, is it expensive, is it cheap? Because sometimes you can have expensive beer, but it's still bad, or not bad, but cheaply made. And
definitely.
So it's hard to define. But right now, craft is an easy term to introduce people to an interesting segment of beer with a lot of flavor, and the segment of the market that's growing, because people are discovering and going, hey, beer can actually taste really good.
Yes, it can indeed. To us at Craft Beer Online, one of the key definitions of craft beer as well is that it does contain all natural ingredients. So if something has been, meddled with as far as the chemistry of it goes and stuff, that's probably slightly cheating. So how do you feel about that? How do you feel about adding artificial additives to craft beer?
Once again, it's that whole spectrum of what you can do and what you can't do, and whether it's good or bad. If you add artificial additives, is Belgian candy sugar, is that artificial? At what point does it become artificial? It's a really tough line to draw, because then you go, oh, well, what about figs, and what about coffee, and what about toasted coconut?
Well, those are clearly natural ingredients, because they came off a tree.
Well, at what point does it become unnatural? If you're using Belgian candy sugar and it's been refined, so it's been through a refining process. It's you've got a product that's been processed, so it's not natural. It's not off a tree. Malted barley is not natural because it's been put through the malting process. Hops have been dried and they've been pelletized. So it's very much, it's hard to define. And I think at the end of the day, as long as the beer tastes really awesome and there's nothing in it that's going to make you sick or give you any cancer or something at the end of the day, it's like, well, if it tastes really good, you should enjoy it and celebrate that, because the natural thing, then you go back to, should it be organic and should it be free trade? And then all of a sudden, or fair trade, it's I don't know. I think beer should be really good and really tasty, and you should enjoy it for what it is. And whether it's gone through some process that you don't agree with, it's kind of, I don't know, it's a difficult thing to say and judge people on. It's like, and when people find out that my beer's been pasteurized, they're going, ooh, only the big breweries do that. I go, well, does my beer taste any worse? It's like, it's been through the pasteurizing process to give me confidence that it's going to be stable to be able to travel outside of where the brewery's at, out of town or overseas. But I'm hoping that the beer still tastes as good and smells as good, because I've made adjustments in the brewery to compensate for going through that process. So hopefully the beer tastes great. It's been through a filter. Is filtering beer bad? Is that a process that is not natural? I don't know.
Definitely, and it's one of those things where, exactly the same as food. Some people just go straight, just purely organic food, and they wouldn't touch anything that's been grown with pesticide. And then, other people go, oh, is it unsprayed? It's unsprayed. That's awesome and sweet. So, do you believe that maybe beer labeling should be more in line with food labeling in terms of actually letting people know what processes and what additives are in the product?
Well, that's a hard thing, because at the end of the day, beer is pretty much made still the same way as it was 6, 8, 10,000 years ago. Maybe not that long ago. But in the last few thousand years, it's still the same process. It's malt, water, hops, and yeast. And there's different things you can do with that through technology, with like refrigeration and filtering and stuff to make it present well. But you don't even need to do that if you go back the old way. But it's a way of speeding it up to get it into a format that people find desirable to look at before they drink. And I don't know, processes. I don't know if that should go on the label, because if you put pasteurized on the label or filtered on the label, is that good or bad? It's good for the stability of the product, or it's good for the way that it presents, but some people might find that negative. It comes down.
It's up to the person. It's up to the consumer to look at it and say, "This is what I want for myself."
It comes down to education, so people actually understand. Well, what does that word even mean?
What does it even mean? Yeah.
What does that process do? It's not adding anything to the process. Filtration is taking it away. Pasteurization is just heating the product up and cooling it down. There's a slight chemical change, but nothing's been added or taken away. So does it really matter? So probably don't really need to put that on the label, because the beer still tastes good. Well, this one tastes great.
Yeah, it certainly does. And this is the epic comic. Well, thank you for that, Luke. That's absolutely incredible.
I don't know if it helps you too much, but gives you something to think about.
It certainly does. Cheers.
Cheers.